We got up super early this morning.
Packed up, ate breakfast, we drove to the airport, got our flight to Denver, then we got our flight to Rapid City, which was tiny, and we got in our car.
Then we went to the Journey Learning Center and Museum. We learned how the land here was formed starting millions of years ago, followed by the Indian tribes that showed up here in the area.
I liked the chiefs' hats and stuff, and the guns that they had. There was the Lakota Indians and the Sioux Indians.
We learned about the expeditions and then what life was like in early Rapid City and how the city got formed, which is where the museum was.
I really liked it.
We drove down the road to the Founding Fathers Museum.
There was the people who signed the Declaration of Independence, and there were things on the wall that had information about all the people who signed them, and 2 of them were presidents.
The scene set before us was from that famous painting of all the Founding Fathers sitting around the document. We went outside where we did 2 cool things.
We rang the Liberty Bell.
The bell was really loud.
And after that, Daddy got tickets to shoot a musket. He tried about 7 times and it wasn't working, but he shot it 2 times actually and it worked. We drove to a hotel called the Battle Creek Lodge. It's very fancy.
I'm not sure it's that fancy.
To me it is.
What's fancy about it?
I like it.
What makes it fancy?
Because it seems like it's fancy.
What makes it seem fancy?
Because it is. We went to Barley, it's across the street, for dinner.
Then we walked down to historic downtown Keystone. Just looks like a rootin' tootin' western town.
After we got some ice cream, we found this place called Old Time Pictures.
What'd you like about it?
That it was western and I got to hold guns. Pew, 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 pew.
There was one picture where we were trying to make mean faces at each other, and I kept on making you laugh. And we went back and went to bed. This morning we got up and had breakfast at the hotel before going to Rushmore Cave Adventure Park.
We went to a cave named Rushmore Cave. It was a half a mile long and we walked, let's say, 432 steps. The rocks, they look soft, but they're actually really hard.
We learned all about the stalactites and the stalagmites and the chimneys which go to the outside, and we crawled around.
After the cave, we went on Soaring Eagle zip line. They went really fast, but at the end, they would zoom you backwards, like you're going backwards on the zip line. The mountain coaster, I was actually tall enough to go by myself. It was really cool. When you push the handles forward, they would accelerate. If you pulled them back, they would stop really quickly. It was exciting.
After that, we went to Bear Country, USA.
USA! It was a drive-through zoo that had many animals. My favorite animals were the wolves and the bears. The bears were 6 feet away from our car.
Yeah, I was really surprised how close the bears got. I had never seen so many bears out in the open air at once. It was so cool to see them all.
We saw some baby cubs at their pit stop at Bear Country. They were so cute. We went to the Rushmore Borglum story.
It was all about Gutzon Borglum, which was the guy who was the architect and the artist behind Mount Rushmore.
It took 400 men, and guess what? There were no fatalities. Dun dun, yay! After that, we went to the Presidential Wax Museum. All the presidents, even the ones who were assassinated.
They were all there in wax.
I liked the real-looking presidents.
Who was real looking?
And 8 of them. After that, we got a pit stop and it was called Iron Mountain. It had the best view besides Mount Rushmore.
There was also some amazing one-way drive-through tunnels, which were really cool looking, but it made the drive fun. And it's the end of our day.
Yep. See ya tomorrow. Good night. So first we woke up today, then we drove all the way to Mount Rushmore. It was really cool. After we saw some viewpoints, we walked the Presidential Trail all the way through it. Very peaceful.
It gave us a bunch of different viewpoints for seeing all the different presidents.
We went to the museum and we went into a movie. It was about the making of Mount Rushmore. After that, we drove to Breezy Point.
This was just an amazing view.
Yes, it was. After Breezy Point, we went to a memorial called Crazy Horse. We took some pictures. It was only the head that was there, and he was riding his horse.
At Crazy Horse, they had a museum, a restaurant, a school for sculpture, a school for Native Americans.
After Crazy Horse Memorial, we went to Custer City. And we went to this place called Purple Pie Place. They had great pie and great ice cream. there was a purple pig at the front. Very funny. We went to a place called Sylvan Lake. First we went kayaking. It was very pretty. The water was very still. We went very close to the rocks. We hiked down a trail that was at least a mile around the lake. We went climbing on some rocks during our hiking. We found very peaceful places, like there was a sitting place we went to. It was very quiet and transcendent. After we went to Sylvan Lake, we ended up here. Dun dun ta-da!
That's your new thing. Dun dun ta-da! This morning,
We drove to Custard State Park.
and there's this highway that drives by what's called the Needles.
The needles are rocks that jet out of the ground. They're made out of granite.
There was some spectacular views, some great climbing places, and we decided to take a hike.
Called the Cathedral Spires. It was 2.2 miles round trip. We found great places for us to sit and enjoy the quietness.
It's amazing to see this granite just launch out of the ground way above your heads.
On the way to Hill City, we drove through some one-way tunnels. Once we got to Hill City, we went to this place called Teddy Bear Town. It held the Guinness World Records of greatest collection of teddy bears. It held over 10,000 teddy bears. It was really fun.
We decided to adopt 2 teddy bears at Teddy Bear Town. This is the one that I adopted. Then we walked across the street to the museum at the Black Hills Institute. We saw a ton of fossils that were discovered right there in the Black Hills, including Stan.
Stan was the second most complete T-Rex skeleton in the world.
Then we took the drive up to our UTV ATV tour.
We had our own UTV to drive. It was very, very bumpy. I felt like we were gonna roll over, so I'm like, oh my god!
By the time we were done with the tour, our faces were so dusty.
After we did the UTV tour, we went to this place called Candyland.
Candyland was just another one of those tourist traps, but still, it was cool to see all the different kinds of candy they had there.
And we are here. Goodings nightings.
This morning we woke up and took a drive over to the Minuteman Missile National Historic Site. We learned all about the Cold War. Turns out South Dakota is one of the places they had a ton of nuclear missiles spread out in the countryside. And when they signed one of the treaties, they allowed one of these missile silos to be available on display to the public, which we got to visit.
It was really far down. Crazy. And it's like all the way down in the ground. Imagine having it in your backyard. We went to Badlands National Park. It was very beautiful. It was like the Grand Canyon #2.
So this used to be all flat lands, and about 500,000 years ago, erosion started, cutting through different rock layers and forming these mountains.
We went to a Saddle Pass Trail. We hiked all the way up it.
Then how'd we get down off the top?
I slid on my booty. It was really fun.
Then we drove over to Wall Drug in the city of Wall, South Dakota.
It's the biggest drugstore in the world.
It was like a mall in there. We decided to have lunch there, where I had their world famous hot beef sandwich with mashed potatoes and gravy poured all over it. Then we drove over to the South Dakota Air and Space Museum.
We saw a lot of planes and a lot of planes and a lot of planes. Planes, 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 helicopters, plane, plane, helicopter, plane, plane. Plane, plane, helicopter, plane, plane. Plane, plane, helicopter, plane, plane. Plane, helicopter.
Inside, they recreated one of those Minuteman launch control rooms where 2 of the guys have to push the button to launch the missiles. And also outside, they had a Minuteman missile, so you could see the size of that thing above ground. Here we are at the airport, and last night we went to the Mount Rushmore lighting ceremony. There was a little bit of a ranger talk, and then there was a movie, and they lit up the faces. It was beautiful. Then this morning, we stopped by downtown Rapid City.
Found this presidential place that had a scavenger hunt, and we had to find all the clues, and they were on a president. My reward was a soda. This is the end of this trip. Goodbye. Crazy Horse by Korzak Sikowski by Zorzak.
Korzak.
I'm like Zorzak.
Zorzak. And then there was the alien Zorzak who came from the galaxy Plinger Zinger.